This year, my goal is simple. Put everything I've been working on over the past 12 months into action. Build systems, get creative, experiment with food and fitness, and ultimately just strive to be happy. Last year was full of paperwork, admin, breaking down and setting up new workspaces, and to be honest, it was a lot. However, I also found joy in creating again, learning new skills and edging closer to a different perspective on how to live my life sustainably. I took the last few weeks to take a real look at what I want in life and how to get there. So reset with me for the year ahead and prepare to make it one to remember. Thank you to Copilot for sponsoring today's video and helping me reach goals I've had for many years but just felt a little out of reach. So grab a cup of tea and let's get into it. I'm definitely approaching this year a little differently than I usually would. I'm still picking up those practical books and learning a little here and there about habit formation and reading all about behavior change. But instead of being measured and afraid of really putting myself out there, this year I'm ready to explore new parts of myself that I've been a little hesitant to turn towards. I've done a lot of reading over the past few weeks while I took some time away from social media, and I've been able to completely reframe how I view failure. In fact, I don't really believe in the idea of failure anymore because it's a necessary part of change and progress. And for me, this is really exciting. It feels like I've unlocked a new level of possibility of what this year and this life can bring. In the past, I've focused on intentions rather than goals. But this year, I have some very specific goals that I'm really excited to get stuck into, including creative aspirations, fitness-related goals, and getting involved with my local community. One tool that has really kept me on track in terms of my fitness-related goals over the past year is Copilot. My coach has been instrumental in building my consistency, growing my strength, and keeping me on top of my workouts to protect my mental health. Copilot is so much more than an app. I've really built a strong relationship with my coach, and she can always tell when I'm avoiding a workout because of work or stress, and helps me to reschedule workouts or push them one day, or simply reduce my sessions to make them more manageable. Heidi has even created home workouts for me so I can save time on my busy days and when I'm traveling home to visit my family. If you have any questions about Copilot or you'd like to try it out yourself, click my Copilot link to get a 14-day free trial and 20% off your first month. But we'll talk a little bit more about Copilot throughout this video. Good morning. I just wanted to talk a little bit about habit stacking. This is something I wanted to reflect on last night because it's something that I've been implementing over the past couple of years, and I find it very helpful if you're trying to implement new habits or create new habits this year. There are many different things that you can do to make this process just a little bit easier. When I start every new year, I always choose one or two books that are on productivity or a non-fiction, just practical book that really helps me to think differently about the year ahead. And I also just really love behavioral science and psychology, so I find it very interesting or very fascinating to learn different ways that people have discovered to optimize their lives or find ways to just make things very subconscious so that you can make the best decisions possible. So habit stacking, it's something I came across after reading Tiny Habits by Fogg a couple of years ago, and I've talked about this book on this channel quite a few times. I think habit stacking is actually named in Atomic Habits, but James Clear actually learned a lot of what he knew about behavior change from Fogg. So that's why I always recommend this book as well. But he talks a lot about the power of prompts, and I thought that this was particularly interesting and helpful for this idea of habit stacking, because the idea of habit stacking is putting two things together, one that you want to do and one that you like doing. So one of the things that I always do is if I want to do some incline walking on the treadmill to make sure I'm keeping up my fitness for hiking in the summer, I will watch an episode of The Crown or something like that whilst I'm doing it, so that I'm allowed to do two things at once. You're stacking these two things together, one you want to do and one you really enjoy doing already. But I thought another interesting thing to mention by Fogg is the power of prompts. And a few things that he says is prompts are black and white. You either notice them or you don't. And they can be things like a post-it note on your fridge or on your front door, just prompting you to take your vitamins in the morning or drink a glass of water, something really small. One of the things that I found particularly interesting is he says, what made a habit a success wasn't motivation or ability, it was the designing of a good prompt. So designing your prompt is the most important part so that you remember to do it. Where a habit is located in your daily routine can make the difference between action and inaction. That really stood out to me. That's why I have started doing some exercise at home. It takes out the time traveled to the gym and back, and it also makes it so much easier. Like I could just do it in my pajamas if I wanted to, or I could just, if it's mobility especially. So that's why I've started doing some Copilot workouts at home, and my coach has been so helpful in designing those so that you don't have to have much equipment. I only have a couple of dumbbells, a mat, and a kettlebell. If you're thinking about creating new habits, I would think about habit stacking. What is a habit that you want to start doing? And what is something you already like doing? And how can you put those two things together? Another thing is I want to go on a daily walk. And I was able to do that last year because I listened to a book that I found really interesting as I was going. So I could only listen to my book if I went for a walk. So that's like really another good example of habit stacking. And then designing prompts. If you want to take your vitamins every morning, put a little post-it note on the kettle if the kettle is somewhere that you automatically go to every morning to make your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. Making a prompt visible and placed in an area that is already part of your routine are two key factors or key things to take into consideration. 3 books that I would recommend if you are looking into behavior change and habit formation this year: Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I've just started reading Feel Good Productivity by Abdaal. He's a YouTuber, you probably know him. I really like him. Today we're going to be doing some meal prepping, so we're going to get started with that. I've already started making tempeh, my sourdough loaf is already almost ready, and I will talk a little bit about meal planning and how this year I really want to experiment with more dishes and just to really find the excitement in cooking at home and how we can make that healthy and enjoyable and budget friendly too. So last year I decided to try to learn to make sourdough bread and tempeh from scratch. These are 2 things that I always thought were too hard for me and would be impossible to make at home. But through some experimentation and some confidence, I've been able to get them to a point where I'm really happy with them. And this has given me a big confidence boost. So this year I really wanted to experiment with more flavors, different recipes, and push my skills because I've really tried to learn as much as I possibly can about cooking, meal prepping, different ingredients and flavors, different cooking methods, and just trying to my best to make as much as I can from scratch and at home. I also really love the idea of being able to replicate my favorite foods from restaurants or a takeaway that I would usually get. I miss a lot of food from home, from London, and I just thought it would be a great idea to try and explore those flavors. And instead of shying away from specific dishes that I would think were too hard for me, I decided that it's actually a great opportunity to try and learn as much as possible, open my eyes and my mind to a whole new way of cooking and thinking. I'm definitely trying to explore with flavors, but I also want to explore with health as well this year, trying to get my protein in so I can build as much muscle as I can, and just to be comfortable, confident, and healthy. I've started doing mobility every morning as well, or at least 3 or 4 times a week, because it just helps my body to feel so much better. I'm definitely feeling more stiff from sitting down and editing for hours on end, so it's been really helpful to just get my body moving, even if it's just a very calm and chill workout for the morning. I actually can't believe that I've been using Copilot for almost a year now, which means that I've been working out consistently and really putting myself first for, almost a year. Consistency is always something that I've struggled with, especially when things start to get busy or I'm traveling. Things really start to fall away for me. But having a coach and having someone to hold me accountable, to move things around or just rejig my schedule to make it more manageable has really helped with my consistency. As I've mentioned before, getting my first pull-up ever is some of the biggest progress I've ever made. Also, because of the consistency and plugging in a couple of leg workouts a week, I've been able to really up the amount of weight that I can squat, deadlift, and this has helped in so many different areas in terms of hiking and climbing and all the kind of real world things that I've been doing outdoors. Because consistency does seem to be a particularly big problem for me when I'm traveling, my coach decided to put all the workouts that I was going to be doing over Christmas period in my extras. So I wouldn't feel bad if I missed a workout, but rather saw them as kind of an extra bonus that I actually did something. If it's mobility, a short 15-minute HIIT training, or just something really slow and just using a few dumbbells. Mentally, that's been really, really helpful for me and definitely got me moving when I otherwise probably wouldn't have. I have a lot of things in my extras in the Copilot app, and sometimes I just find that starting the morning with mobility is a really nice way to do a very gentle form of movement, whilst also working on a few things that I like, a few issues that I have in terms of tight hips and things like that. This afternoon I have a light jog scheduled. It is -20 outside currently, so we'll see how that goes. I think we probably all struggle with consistency, whether we need to have someone to hold us accountable, whether we can hold ourselves accountable, or whether what we're striving for just isn't actually what we want at all. These are some of the questions I've asked myself over the past month while I've really been taking some time to figure this all out. And sometimes the hardest questions to answer might be the reason why we're just finding things very difficult and finding consistency to be our biggest issue. I haven't found the answers quite yet, but I'm really looking inwards and trying to discover what it is that I'm really after, what makes me truly happy, and what kind of habits will actually get me to a place where I feel like consistency is less of an issue because I'm driven completely by something else. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about setbacks and lacking motivation and kind of the things that we can put in place to not feel bad when we miss a workout or we're not forming a habit as quickly as we would like to, or whatever your goals are for this year. Because one thing I've learned from reading a lot of books on behavior change is that motivation is not something that can be relied on at all. This is why I put a lot of emphasis on things like building systems in our lives, creating an environment in which we can thrive and really suits our needs and personality, and also on routines. And this is why I spent a lot of time last year thinking about my morning routine. One big thing that came out of that experimentation for me it works better if I'm very strict about my routines, because that has a huge knock-on effect for the rest of my day and what I can get done, how I feel about my work and my life. And it also helps to monitor my energy levels. So I learnt through reading all of these books, through building these systems, that motivation is not something to be relied upon. So on those days that you're not feeling motivated, you can just fall back on your habits, your systems, and the routines that you have created for yourself. That's why planning ahead is such an important tool, and also giving yourself grace when you miss something that you really wanted to do. The main thing is to ensure that your goals, your routines are realistic, because you don't want to set yourself up to fail before you've even started. Okay, I'm gonna have a shower and then we'll talk a little bit about habit formation and what are my goals for this year and the kind of habits that I want to create. Okay, I'm just getting ready to go for a walk. It's finally less cold today. It's about -9, whereas yesterday it was -20. So it's feeling just a little bit nicer to go outside for my daily walk. We did go out for a walk yesterday, but it hurt my face, let's just say. I just really want to listen to my book because I'm really into it. I'm listening to Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, and I'm about 61% of the way through. I rent it through Libby. If you haven't got Libby, it is a free app where you can connect it to your library and listen to free books and read free books. So highly recommend, and it supports your local library too. Okay, I'm gonna go for a walk and then I'll talk to you about the process that I am now going through to create goals, because it's very different than I usually would in the past. I just read the 12-week year, which has completely reframed the way I visualize goals, and I have stopped with the kind of annualized thinking, what I want to achieve for the whole year, and I condense them into 12-week goals. So each week is a month and each 12 weeks is a year. But we'll talk about that more once I go for my walk. So a couple of days before New Year, I was in the UK and my husband was in Michigan with his family. So we had a call and we went through all of the goals that we wanted to be our joint goals. And we split them up into different categories, like we have a house goal that we want to buy for eventually, life in Denver goals, life in the West in general, places we want to visit. We have mountain goals in terms of hike a moderate 14er, that's slightly harder than the one that we did last year, and various other ones. We also have social goals, climbing goals, and then relationship goals. But I wanted to kind of talk about actually how I'm going about creating those goals in the first place, and then the plan to achieve those goals, because my thinking has changed very much after reading, as I mentioned earlier, the 12-week year. So the basic premise is, instead of annualized thinking, you want to break your goals down into 12 weeks instead of 12 months. This helps to keep motivation, to keep focus, and then everything is actually a lot more measurable because you can keep track week to week, and after 12 weeks you can really see whether you have reached your goal or not. I definitely think that the main benefits are focus and keeping momentum. Those things are really hard to keep over an entire year. You need to start with what your vision is. So you want to have 3 visions. The first one is long-term aspirations. What do you want in quite a few years, 5, 10, 15 years? The next one is a 3-year goal. And then the third one are your 12-week goals. You want to take some time to write down what you think all of these goals are, and be very honest with yourself. Don't write down things that you kind of think you should want or anything like that. Really focus on what you truly want and what matters to you and what will be meaningful in your life. Okay, write your 12-week goals. I chose 3 for my work. And then once you've chosen those, you want to write underneath, why are these goals important to you? That's really helpful because that will align your goals with your vision that you've already been through. Of course, there are so many more things that go into this plan and how you can make this plan. So I would really highly recommend reading this book if you want to think more about 12-week planning rather than annualized planning. When it comes to my fitness goals, because we both have a lot of fitness goals in terms of climbing, squatting, we use this board to write down what his goals are, what my goals are, and then what our joint goals are. The reason why we write this down is because, going back to what I was saying earlier about prompts, Fogg says that prompts are important when it comes to habit formation, habit change. If you design your prompt really well, that is the difference between you doing a habit and you not doing a habit. So having this board, which is always out and we can always see it, we are always going to be aware of what these goals are, and it's going to keep us motivated if we're sitting there thinking, I don't really want to go to the gym today, or we'll see these goals and we'll remember why we're doing these things in the first place. Okay, so some of my goals for fitness are climb a V6, get 5 pull-ups, climb a 511 minus, commit to doing my 1 leg workout a week, and I also want to squat 200 pounds. Some of our joint goals are hike 4 14ers this year, visit 2 new national parks, climb in Utah, backpack in the San Juans, hike the 4 Loop Pass near Maroon Bells, do the Telluride Via Ferrata, and do a camping trip where we take our bikes and do a lot of biking during the week. So one of my biggest goals for a really long time was to get a pull-up, and I finally got my pull-up last year. Honestly, I don't think I would have been able to do it without using Copilot, because my coach designed a really structured plan for me so that I was doing pull-ups at least 2 times a week, and then I was doing other accessory moves that really helped me to build those other little muscles that are so important for pulling your entire body weight up. If you have been thinking about how the app actually works, It's really simple. You have an onboarding call with a coach and you talk about all your goals, what your fitness level is, where you're going to be doing your workouts, will they be at home, will they be at a gym, and also what kind of equipment that you have accessible. And then your coach can go away and build you an entire bespoke personalized plan that takes all of those things into consideration. One of my favorite features is actually the push 1 day feature, and that's been very helpful for me mentally when I just have too much work and I cannot get to the gym. Maybe I could go for a walk instead, but I cannot take the time. Pushing my workout 1 day means that I'll get to it the next day and I don't have to feel bad about missing it. And not that you should feel bad, but you know, it's just a nice feature to keep you on track and make sure that consistency is there. There's also an extras button. I have a lot of extras for different kind of hip mobility, back mobility, neck mobility, just things that I find particularly difficult when I'm sitting at a desk for ages, or because I have one hip or one leg is stronger than the other, I get hip issues. So in my extras I have all of these different things I can choose on days where I don't have a workout planned. And my main objective that I've put in the app is just simply to feel better in my clothes. I made a video last year about my clothes not necessarily fitting me as well anymore, and that's my biggest goal basically. Get strong, be able to use all of the tools from the gym to climb better, but then to be able just to feel really comfortable and happy in myself and my clothes too. So just a reminder, if you do want to try out Copilot, you can click the link in the description below to get a 14-day free trial and 20% off your first month if you click before February 1st. I just want to say thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it or found it helpful at all, then please give it a like. It really helps to support my channel, and subscribe because I'm going to be doing at least one productivity habit formation video per month for the rest of this year, because it's just really interesting, and hopefully through my process and my reading and research I can help you build some habits that you're interested in building as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye. I really missed you guys. It's been too long. Sorry.